2023 was a wild year for the UFC. From belts changing to belts defended to GOATs returning, it was wild. But today, we're going to predict who are going to be all the UFC champions by the end of 2024. So, let's get right into it. Starting off with the women. Women's strawweight. I believe that Weili can beat Tatiana Suarez if she ever gets that title shot. There's a lot of hype behind Tatiana Suarez. I know a lot of people are confused as to why that fight hasn't been made yet, but I do think Weili will beat her. Weili just seems to be reaching another level. Her fight with Carla, absolutely insane. And she's demonstrated a lot of growth in her style. I think she's just way stronger than everyone else. So I honestly don't see Weili getting defeated. I get the Tatiana hype, but I'm going to stay true and believe in Weili. Moving on to women's flyweight. Alexa Grasso versus Shevchenko. There's so much debate on who won that fight, who lost that fight, whether it was a draw. But I don't know if Shevchenko is going to get that title shot again. And I honestly think Grasso might be able to beat her. Shevchenko's last couple performances were a little lackluster in general. And she seems to be losing it a little bit. That being said, Erin Blanchfield is who I think is going to end up being champ. So long as she can get the title shot and there's no rematch being booked between Grasso and Shevchenko, if Blanchfield gets the title shot, I just think she's on another level. She seems to be a tier above, and seeing her against prime Shevchenko I think would have been really interesting, but just seeing how she's beating up everyone, it's hard to root against her. Women's bantamweight. This is a pretty open division, and I'm actually gonna go with Juliana Pena. I think she's the most experienced fighter in that division right now. Of course, Holly Holm is there, but I don't think Holly Holm is gonna be in a title shot anytime soon. Pena and Silva, I don't know what is going on with that fight. I thought it was booked. I'm not sure if it's booked. It should be booked, but if Pena does fight, I think she just has that experience advantage. I mean, you beat Amanda Nunes, so I know a lot of people call him fluke, but I think that's got to give you another level of confidence. That being said, the rematch was really something, but I do think Pena will find a way to win. That being said, I think a lot of women's bantamweight needs an injection of hype. I hope someone big comes up and we see some big fights, because Irina Aldana had all this hype and really came out with a lackluster performance. So let's move on to the men's. Starting off at flyweight, Moreno and Pantoja was close, but it seemed like Pantoja was clearly the better fighter. And Pantoja versus Roval, I think Pantoja is going to win that pretty easily. That being said, I am a huge Kai Kara France and Brandon Moreno fan, and I would really like to see one of them get a title shot, but Kai Kara France is coming off a loss. I don't see that. I don't see Pantoja losing to Amir. I don't even think Amir beat Kai Kara France. I thought that was a robbery. And also, I don't see Moreno getting another title shot after all of them. That being said, his fight was hype. If he does get that shot, I think he would beat Pantoja in a rematch. I do see Pantoja just retaining his belt throughout the year, and maybe in 2025, potentially late 2024, losing in a Brandon Moreno rematch. But at the time being, I think it's hard to say Pantoja won't just hold his belt, especially without clear contenders. Bantamweight. Now this is interesting, right? I think Sean O'Malley is going to beat Chito Vera. We saw the first fight. The leg kick shut down the nerve, and I know a lot of people think that might give Chito a clear advantage, but Sean is so crisp and so fast. I don't think Chito's output is going to be enough to slow Sean down at any point that he's going to be able to catch him with anything or set him up. Sean is an elite striker, and he also has really good grappling. Although it's not the best takedown defense, if they're ever in a scramble or any sort of situation on the ground, I think Sean has an advantage being able to get up to his feet. And also, it's not like Chito shoots for takedowns or anything like that. We've heard a lot about the striking of Chito, but it's been a while since he had a really big performance. His last one was, of course, against Dominic Cruz. His fight against Pedro Munoz was lackluster, to say the best. He got destroyed by Sanhagen. But with that being said, the real matchup you got to look at is Merab versus Henry. Who is going to win that? If Merab wins and he goes on to fight Sean, he has a really good chance of beating Sean. But I don't think Henry does. I think Henry's physical attributes are just going to work so far against him, as well as his age, that I could see Sean retaining. But that being said, my final prediction I would go with to who's going to be champ, I think Sean's going to find a way to retain. He's going to beat Chito, and I think even if he fights Merab, he has a really good chance in the early rounds because of the sloppy striking of Merab. Now, Corey Sandhagen versus Sean isn't getting talked about at all, so seeing how that plays out would be interesting, but I do think Corey would find a way to beat Sean. Similar striking styles, as well as Corey has just upped his grappling to another level. That being said, I don't see that title shot being made in 2024, so I'm going to give it to Sean. Featherweight. This is big. Illa, Volk, Max Holloway. Now, Max Holloway, a lot of people are talking about him fighting Justin Gaethje just because he already fought Volk 3 times. Like, who else is there for him to fight? There's not really many fights for him to get up to that title shot. And then Illa versus Volk is, of course, booked. And a lot of people are looking at this like Volk's real threat to the throne, because we just saw Volk lose to Islam and got knocked out brutally. The saddest moment of 2023 in my eyes. Is that going to mess with his head? He doesn't have that much time off, but Volk has been so dominant. He came back off a loss against Islam the first time to go and beat Yair. I do think Illa might find that chin. I'm sorry. I know that sucks, but I think Illa might be the one to break Volk. I'm rooting for you, Volk, but I think Illa is just too crisp. He's too diverse. We saw him on the ground against Bryce Mitchell. It looked excellent. And Volk coming off that brutal loss, as well as just getting up there in an age and the cover occurs. There's so many factors working against Volkanovski. I hope he finds a way to get it done, but unfortunately I have to go with Illa being champ. That being said, if Illa vs Max happened, oh my god. Oh my god. Like, wait, what you really got to look at here is Charles versus Islam, and if Gaethje versus Islam gets made. That being said, this is a crazy hot take, I know. I think Charles is going to beat Islam in a rematch. I know. With their first fight being so dominant to Islam, that sounds like a stupid statement, and with Islam coming off that dominant win. But I just think Charles looked so good against Beneil. We saw Charles get pressed again. We saw him get taken down again, and we saw him get up and just light Beneil up. I think the power and striking of Charles needs to be more calm. We saw him going out there with like crane kicks and crazy kicks to start off that fight, and he just seemed like he was trying to get Islam out there, and he honestly seemed like he was feeling the pressure. I don't think Charles is going to be that reckless again. I think Charles knows that he needs to be more careful, and he needs to be more aware, as well as the fact that Islam Volk 1 showed a lot of holes in Islam's game, a lot of issues he has later in the round, how to defend the takedowns, that center of gravity that everyone was talking about. I think Charles might find a way. Now, if you think I'm a complete fucking idiot, I get it. Yeah, I really get it, man. Like, I just said Islam is gonna lose. It's okay, though. Welterweight, you gotta look at Leon versus Colby. Whoever wins that is probably fighting Bilal, unfortunately. I think whoever wins this is going to beat Bilal. I do think, for some reason, I feel like Leon is going to beat Colby. And I know Colby has that sick style, that constant pressure. Colby also is dealing with ring rust. Leon just fought a way bigger wrestler in Kamaru that also presses forward constantly and also has decent striking. That being said, that's more power-based striking to Colby's more output-based striking. I don't think Leon has cardio issues. Leon has width. Leon has the reach and range on Colby. I think Leon's going to be able to use his kicks, use his grappling defense to just fend off Colby, and I don't know if Colby's ever going to actually be able to hold him on the ground in the later round. I think Leon might even catch Colby with a big head kick or just using that range to set him up for some big strikes that I think Leon is going to find a way to even put him out. Now, middleweight. Ooh, baby, this is interesting. Here's what I think is going to happen. Sean is going to lose to Dricus because I think Dricus has that power advantage. Sean gets hit. We saw him lose to Pereira with those big shots. Sean did beat Jared Cannonier. I think Dricus, using his grappling, he's going to take him down just like he took Rob down, and he's just going to unload on him with that insane build he had. Dricus versus Israel, I think is going to happen late 2024. I know Izzy said he's not coming back till 2027, but I think with all of their beef, I think Izzy would come back to fight Dricus, and honestly, I think between Izzy and Dricus, I think we're going to see a completely different Israel Adesanya, and I see Izzy winning the middleweight title at the end of 2024 next year. So of course, that was a lot of leaf in terms of who's going to earn what shot. I do think Izzy is going to get himself back up there, get himself more motivated again to jump in and get that big, huge victory against Sean. Light heavyweight, Alex Pereira, Jamal Hill is the big one, and then Ankalaev versus Johnny Walker. I see Johnny Walker versus Ankalaev as the next title shot after Jamal versus Pereira. I think Pereira is just too crisp, too powerful. I think he's going to knock out Jamal. I think Jamal is coming in with a chip on his shoulder. He's going to be a little reckless, in my opinion, and I think Alex is going to be able to catch him with some big shots. Jamal is talking about not using his wrestling, but Pereira was able to get back up to his feet after Jan, and he's just getting better. He's training with gloves. Magomed versus Johnny Walker. Here's the thing. This might sound stupid, but I think Magomed beats Pereira, but I think Johnny Walker beats Magomed, and I think Johnny Walker loses to Pereira. So we got a nice, crazy little triangle going. So whoever wins that fight, I think if it's Ankalaev, it'll be him. But if Johnny Walker wins that fight, I think Alex Pereira is going to retain and beat him. So heavyweight, obviously it's going to be Jon Jones because it's looking like he's not fighting for a while. And also if he is, he's fighting Stipe, and I think he's going to crush a 43-year-old Stipe. So let's just move on to the interim title because I know a lot of people are talking about Tom defending that against the Cyril's and the other up-and-coming heavyweights. And honestly, besides Cyril, I don't really think there's anyone else that can really challenge Tom for that interim title. Just looking at the rankings with Curtis Blades and Volkov, I don't think Almeida is another one, but all of them are a couple fights away. Cyril is the only one I could really see getting it after his next win. I think Tom is just too quick. That would be the most interesting fight in heavyweight in a while. Cyril, who moves like a middleweight, and Tom that is just so fast, so powerful. I think Tom would retain his interim title and then of course go on to fight Jon Jones in the next year. These are my predictions. I know, pretty crazy, pretty wild. Some of them are mundane, some of them are stupid, but that's what I think. The sport is exciting. It's impossible to guess who's going to win what. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, and be on the lookout for my other content.